Rolling British countryside and roebucks. Cai's in sunny Wiltshire, wild shopping.
2 years ago I shot a real good one. I nearly passed out.
Plus we have the story of a baby rhino that's had its eyes pecked out by crows. We're giving away entry to the 410 Championships priced at more than £200.
We have news, we have hunting YouTube. Welcome to Fieldsports Britain.
Luckily for us, it's one of those beautiful British early summer evenings when every roe worth its salt lick is out and about, especially here in Wiltshire. This isn't Cai's normal stomping ground. He's catering for a wedding nearby, so it's a chance to kill 2 birds with 1 stone, or 2 roe with 1 Bergara rifle.
I've been on this ground with you once before. We saw a couple of roebuck, and I missed that roebuck last time, didn't I?
You did what?
I missed the roebuck last time. I'm not ashamed to admit it.
On this valley here, exactly where
just
that
right behind us.
Do you want to talk us through that at all, Tom?
I don't. It happens.
We started all the way up on that side. I stalked him all the way over, got on it, and he shot between its legs and clean missed it.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember driving home thinking,
Yeah. Since I shot my first roebuck, I've just been addicted to.
yeah.
There is the fever. There is a fever.
A roebuck fever.
Oh, for sure. I still
Yeah.
get terrible roebuck fever if a big one walks out.
Yeah.
I remember about 2 years ago I shot a real good one and I nearly passed out. I don't know what. It wasn't even the biggest one I ever shot, but it was such a good. It was a really hard stalk, and I crept up on it, and it sort of saw me, and I took the shot. And I remember taking the shot, and I went all lightheaded and I nearly fell over. I was wobbling about.
It's not coronavirus, is it?
No, it just like, the adrenaline hit me like a steam train. It was terrible. I don't know why, but
Isn't it amazing?
It's,
That it affects people like this is extraordinary, isn't it? But all over Europe, I mean, all over the world.
my friend
There's
took out
something
a
about
client
it.
the other day, and he shot this German guy. I think he'd shot 1,500 roebucks in his lifetime. You know, he's in his 70s.
yeah, he's shot quite a few.
And my friend put him on a gold medal, and he froze up and couldn't shoot it with buck fever. And that's a guy in his 70s who shot roebucks since he was 15. 60 years of shooting roebucks every season, and he still froze up on a gold medal and couldn't even pull the trigger.
And that's why he's still doing it, though. That's why he still shoots, obviously, because, the passion's still there, isn't it? So
Yeah.
It's doubtful the cull bucks we're after tonight will get Cai fainting, but they'll definitely be part of one of his wedding menus this summer. As they assess where to go, Cai has a look through his Meopta Optica 6 scope to get it focused for the trigger cam.
see where that patch of mud like dirt is.
There are bucks on that far bank too, so that's where we need to head. The long grass and small trees give us cover on the approach. Tom gives us the nod for a buck that's still in velvet. Cai has to manoeuvre to find a path to thread the Norma round through the cover. With enough body on show, Cai takes the shot.
I didn't realise you could see enough of it.
Well, I kind of went a little bit higher than usual just because I knew the tall grass. So, it's not that far away. It's probably, about even like 50, 60 yards really. So the 308 bullet would have just gone through and got that. It was quite close enough. So if it was a long range shot, I would probably want to risk something like that. But I went a little bit higher on it, just kind of go on the top of the grass. But I think, thank you, mate. But yeah, it dropped on the spot. It was a good shot.
The doe is staying in play. Knowing the buck dropped on the spot, we enjoy watching her.
But he was still in velvet as well.
He was in velvet, yeah.
It's late.
Yeah, I was going to say that is quite late, isn't it?
Yeah, it's late. But that's what's crazy. They're still in winter coat and the fawns are already out.
Yeah.
And he's still in velvet and the fawns are out.
Well, the weather's a bit weird at the moment because it's very hot today, but it was quite cold a couple of nights ago, and it's just fluctuating. And it was the rain as well. We had some heavy rain and some storms recently as well, didn't
But
we?
the heavy rain should knock the velvet off.
Mm.
Normally the velvet only hangs on if we've had no rain.
Yeah.
Then the velvet goes crispy and dry. But normally when we've had that good rain,
When it gets wet.
it goes wet and it just slimes off.
As Tom spends his days working and measuring heads, we ask him whether there is any potential with this youngster.
Bucks that are going to make a really good buck already at 2 would be about that tall, and then would already have 4 good points on them.
It's missing one though, where
Yeah,
it's
he's
small.
missing that. He's uneven. I mean, he could throw a better head next year. He's got a nice width coming on him, but it's not one that screams potential to me. If you see a nice one like that with a nice fork on him both sides, I wouldn't shoot him. But one like that's a better one to take.
There's plenty of roe here, isn't there? And obviously we're doing the management here, and already this evening we've seen quite a few. And even on the drive in, on your permission, which it is his farm really, we saw 2 on the way up.
Well, one was probably
He was a good buck.
a good rep.
He was a really good buck, yeah.
There's still plenty of daylight. Tom asks if we want to keep stalking. It's a real pleasure to be out in this rolling countryside, and as the light fades, a spooked buck might stop for us before it's out of range.
Yeah. One on the right. Nice for that.
Wow. We tried to get in on them then, and then they just kept moving around, trying to get to safe shots. There's a road behind us. Like, there's so many deer coming out now as well, you know? Like, literally all popping up, mainly just does. But he was like a nice coal buck.
Yeah, that's a better shaped buck, but to be honest, I reckon he's 3, not 2, and just poor.
Yeah.
He's as young as the other one.
And just if you look behind me there, to finish it off, that view is just absolutely incredible, isn't it?
Yeah, that's one of my favourite views on this farm from the top.
We've picked a good evening this evening.
Yeah.
It's been a great evening stalking with a perfect backdrop for watching and appreciating our native deer, whether in summer coat or molting, or in hard antler or velvet. To find out more about Cai's kit, head to roag.co.uk, and for Cai's catering, go to gameandflames.com. Thank you, Cai. And if you'd like to see some of Tom Douglas's taxidermy, search Instagram for the Wiltshire Redneck. Now from death in the long grass to the lawnmower man of news, it's David on the Fieldsports channel News Stump.
This is Fieldsports Channel News. Eggs, day-olds and poults continue to make crazy money as shoots panic buy ahead of the season. Attracting fierce bidding, pheasant poults from Poland for delivery in June topped out at £16.45 each via Stags' online auction. Meanwhile, 5,000 red-leg partridge day-olds went for £10 each at the same auction. Animal rebellion protesters failed to disrupt the Queen's Platinum Jubilee last week. Police acted quickly to tackle protesters that tried to stop soldiers at the Trooping of the Colour in London. Meanwhile, more of them tried to disrupt the Epsom Derby. Police arrested 6 people. A man who has built his life around shooting and fishing has received an award in the Queen's Jubilee Honours List. The Queen gave Noel Birchall, the man behind the New Zealand Fish and Game Council, the New Zealand Order of Merit for services to outdoor recreation and conservation. The keen duck hunter and angler has seen the council grow from volunteer-run management to being professionally run by more than 70 full-time staff in his 53 years of involvement. 2 days after the Westminster government introduced a ban on dealing in ivory, shops are still selling it. The ban under the 2018 Ivory Act is designed to stop the trade in ivory. It came into force on the 6th of June 2022. Staff at shops such as Amazon and eBay and auction houses including Christie's, Sotheby's and Bonhams now face £250,000 worth of fines and criminal convictions for offering goods including ivory. The ban gave DEFRA Minister Lord Zach Goldsmith the opportunity to position the government alongside animal rights organisations, the International Fund for Animal Welfare and Born Free. They released a joint statement. The Ivory Act also makes provision for DEFRA to recruit and pay for a new police force. Accredited civilian officers or ACOs, who are likely to be drawn from animal rights organisations, can now enter your home without permission and seize your goods. There are more problems for the Westminster government over the lead shot ban. Its Health and Safety Executive has produced a dossier urging the removal of lead in ammunition due to what it calls the unacceptable risk to human health and the environment. Meanwhile, the European Food Safety Authority has published a list showing the sources of lead in the human diet. Game meat is number 60 on the list, just below cephalopods, and pretty much everything else you will consume today and every day. Pro-lead shot campaigners are asking the HSE to ban the other 59 foods on the list. Thanks to Mark Crudgington for the story. Birds of prey continue to boom on grouse moors. The Spaunton estate on the North Yorks moors records rising numbers of raptors from red kite to merlin. It identifies wildfires and poor moorland management as the biggest threat to their numbers. Thanks to good gamekeeping, the 7,000-acre estate near Kirby Moorside is home to 16 of the UK's 21 species of bird of prey, as well as a large number of other birds. The estate reveals a significant rise in reported sightings for its 3rd consecutive year, with 1,903 birds of prey spotted in the past 12 months, a 22% annual increase. BBC Countryfile is looking for a hero. As part of the BBC Food and Farming Awards, the Countryfile Young Countryside Champion aims to celebrate young countryside champions aged between 16 to 24, like these previous finalists. According to the BBC, you could be a young farmer looking to the future and how you farm to adapt to challenges facing the industry, a young naturalist involved in helping to save wildlife in your area, an eco-hero committed to the environment, or your mission might be to open up the great outdoors to as wide an audience as possible. It's also an opportunity for the field sports community to send in our best, whether that's a young gamekeeper, hunt staff or river keepers. The closing date is Monday the 27th of June 2022. Link is in the description below. Chris Packham's problem with ground nesting birds is still going strong. As well as campaigning for other birds to eat their chicks and eggs, he muddled his species in 2017 when he suggested that the continued shooting of lapwings is contributing to their 53% decline. Lapwings are not shot. Now, on his Springwatch programme, the BBC presenter has mistaken an oyster catcher for an avocet.
Another way to hear the avocet, like water off an avocet's back.
An angry mother has confronted police firearms officers practising on a range near her home. Devon and Cornwall Police have used the site in Devon since the 1970s, but for the last 8 years without planning permission. The 34-year-old woman says she is scared her children will wander onto the site because it's only got stock fencing. It is 100 metres from her home and the police use it up to 4 times a week. Devon and Cornwall Police say they've now submitted a new application to fire weapons all day, 5 days a week. In the application, they admitted that they had been using the site since 2014 without a permit, which they blamed on reasons unknown. Thanks to Graham Hurst, John Seth Smith and others for the story. Night vision specialist Pulsar has a factory in Ukraine, and some of its staff are caught up in the Russian invasion. Among stories to emerge from the conflict, Maxim Siversky is a software engineer at Polaris Vision Ukraine. He went to Mariupol in February to visit his parents, and he became stuck there. After a missile hit their building, Maxim and his parents moved to a basement. They endured weeks of shelling, surviving on scraps, and finally escaped alive. Today, Maxim is in Lithuania. You can read his story on the Pulsar blog, link in the description below. There are new hopes that New York won't ban trophy imports. The New York State legislature adjourned over the weekend without passing Senate Bill 2814, called the Big Five African Trophies Act. If enacted, SB 2814 would have banned the importation, transportation and possession of 5 major African wildlife species, including the African elephant, lion, leopard, black rhinoceros, white rhinoceros and giraffe. There is more on rhinos later in the show. Thanks to Per Holmseth for the story. And finally, a panicked wild boar bit a sunbather before running from a beach on Spain's Costa Blanca. The animal is filmed running up the beach north of Benidorm. Lifeguards chase it away from seafront bars and cafes. Thanks to Jeff Smith for the story. You are now up to date with Fieldsports Channel News. Stuck in the stories, fishing for facts.
Now, wildlife rescue is a fairly harmless way of separating foolish people who want to show how much they care from their money. Our responsibility to pets and livestock is the individual, but our responsibility to wildlife is to the species, so knock that injured fox on the head. The exception is when the wildlife species is a population basket case, and in this next item, that's what I come across in South Africa. This baby animal can't see. A few hours earlier, crows pecked out its eyes. That means certain death in the wild, but this baby is too important. It's one of the last southern white rhinos. Staff have brought it in to Rockwood Conservation's veterinary centre in South Africa's Northern Cape to see if they can save any of its sight. Will she get some sight, do you think?
I don't know. So from what I saw in the field, the eye that we might have a chance to save, there is some damage, and I don't know if we can fix that without surgery.
Saving an eye is a long-term priority. Right now, staff want to keep the animal alive. Baby rhinos get constant contact from their mothers, so a member of Rockwood's staff stays tucked up with this rhino, petting and stroking it.
We've had her on the drips, which has been showing us the best results so far, which we struggled with in the beginning. It took me 2 hours to get a drip in.
So with the drip we have glucose in there just to...
Yeah, when she came in, I mean, her glucose levels weren't even being picked up on the glucometer. And after the first drip it was in a normal range, which is a good sign.
And now temperature is picking up and
yes, and now we
other body functions.
Yes, so if everything stays normal and gradually increases, I have hope.
Vickers Diedericks bought 12,500 hectares of land here in the Northern Cape and, in 2013, started conserving wild southern white rhinos and other endemic species. Most rhinos in South Africa are in private hands and have security like this. Crows may be one problem for baby rhinos in the wild. Poachers are a much bigger threat to adult rhinos. Thanks to a huge security operation, Vickers has had no poaching since 2015. Vickers' efforts contrast with the disastrous loss of rhinos from South Africa's national parks. This farm has been going since 2013. They started with 45 rhinos. If those rhinos had been in the Kruger National Park in public land, 80% of them would have been poached by now. Here, that 45 has turned into 120. So it's simple. Do you want 120 rhinos or 9?
The way numbers are declining in Kruger, I doubt if there will be rhino left in the next 2 years. Any rhino left in the next 2 years. Yeah, that's unfortunately the sad reality. And the rest of the parks in South Africa, the national parks, is pretty much following the same route. Fortunately, we can employ much different strategies than the national parks can, and because we can intensify our efforts, we had no incidences of poaching for the last 7 years. You can jail them, you can shoot them. There's always going to be somebody else that will be prepared to do it for the money that's being offered.
So how do you make rhino farming pay? One way is to offer hunting of old, obsolete bull rhinos. These command prices of £50,000 or more, $1 million plus South African rand. Vickers offers a bull or two a year for hunting. The other way is to harvest the rhino horn and sell it.
On average, I think you can work on about 500 grams of horn per animal per year. If you take it across the herd, it obviously differs. Cows, their horns are thinner, so there's not as much bulk and weight as with bulls, and with age it also decreases.
What are the potential markets for horn?
It's mainly used in the East, mostly as in some form of medicine, so yeah, that's where the market is, and then lately, it's because the prices are so high, it's also a show of wealth. It's like showing off your Rolex, or driving in your Rolls or whatever.
Removing horn does not hurt the rhino. Vickers is able to show why on his thermal security cameras.
Alright, so if you look at the thermal image here of this rhino, you can see that the horn has got a different heat signature than the rest of the animal. So it shows you that horn doesn't have any blood supply, or it's basically dead tissue. So when you trim it, it doesn't feel that you trim it. So there is no need for anybody to kill the animal and to hack off the whole thing, half of its face. You mainly trim it, and the animal, I think, won't even know about it. So it's such a shame that rhinos need to go extinct because of something that they will, I think, be prepared to part with.
CITES bans the trade in horn from wild rhinos. The rhino horn producers of South Africa believe they are one court case away from allowing the export of their farmed rhino horn, and then they will have to start on achieving the import of that horn to markets in the Middle and Far East. The aim remains rhino conservation. Back at the veterinary centre first thing the following day, and the baby rhino has made it through the night. Dakota is more confident about its prospects.
I think I might wake her up at around 8.
Okay.
And try and get her outside and walking a bit.
Okay. So we can go have some coffee and come back.
Yeah, I think that would be a good idea, because I only fed her at 6:30, just after you left. Okay. And if she sleeps, I'm happy.
In the meantime, it's feeding time for a couple of the other motherless animals here.
That's Mokas and Moto. So Moto is our youngest out of the 4. He is a year old. And then Mokas, he is 13 months old. They are currently on about 12 litres of milk in a day, so not too much. We're now starting to wean them very slowly. By 15, 16 months, we want them off milk. Mokas's mom had a boil on her udder, so she also wasn't giving him any milk. He had to come in. And then Moto, our youngest, he actually got abandoned by his mom. And usually when the mom abandons the calf, it's because there's some sort of developmental issue. And we found at a year old, he got really sick, and he had a sepsis in his navel. So naturally, the mom knows the calf's not going to survive, she will walk away from the calf. So that's why more water came in. Now they're all doing very well, fat and happy, so we're happy.
The blind baby rhino was abandoned too. The aim here is to get these orphans back into the closest to wild that Vickers can allow and still ensure their safety. Dakota's job is rescue, rehabilitation and release, and she reckons she can save at least part of one of the baby rhino's eyes. You can find out how by following the link to rockwoodconservation.com in the description below. Here is that rhino later that morning following her new mother out into the yard. They've decided to call that baby Hope. Thanks to Vickers and his wife Yvette and to my hosts for that trip, Maynard and Francis from the Northern Cape Professional Hunting School. And there are a couple of other films to come out of that visit to Rockwood Conservation. One is How to Farm Rhino, where Vickers talks through some of the issues he faces, and the other is a 360-degree film of rhinos trotting and walking past, where you can don your VR glasses and immerse yourself in the karoo and some of Africa's most majestic animals. Of course, all of these films aim to show how hunting and conservation go hand in hand, and so we could not have made them without financial support from the Fieldsports Nation. Find out how to join them via the link in the description below. This week's Fieldsports Extra, the exclusive show they get on Tuesdays, includes the absolutely essential viewing, How do you milk a rhino? Answer? Well, find out in Fieldsports Extra, where I announce the winner of the excellent Rovince anti-tick trousers priced at £100 that UK distributor Highland Outdoors kindly put up as a prize last week. And this week you can win entry to the 410 Championships in August, priced at £220. Now from the savannah to the wider world of hunting and shooting on YouTube, brought to you by James Marchington, it is Hunting YouTube.
This is Hunting YouTube, which aims to show the top hunting and shooting videos that YouTube has to offer. Hunt primitive for doing things the hard way, bringing down a bison with nothing more than a flint-tipped spear, and then processing the carcass with Stone Age tools. Kenny Wilmette has a frustrating day stalking on the hill, before he finally gets a roebuck just 250 metres from his truck. Kirby Allison gets kitted out with a traditional tweed shooting suit for a day's driven shooting in Scotland, in this trailer for an upcoming 12-part series. Predator Protection UK is out with a keen youngster, trying out a new bait to outwit a family of foxes he's named the Chicken Run Gang. Andy's range makes a good mixed bag of squirrels, magpies and a crow, mooching round his permission with his HW100 airgun fitted with a slow-motion scope camera. Jaff from South Somerset Ferreters is out in his truck, shooting rabbits at night with the ATN 4K Pro night vision scope on his 2.2 rimfire. Meanwhile, Simon 6 PPC makes some impressive long-range shots on wary crows and magpies with his 223 rifle, while explaining the damage they can do to nesting birds and young lambs. And finally, from this unpronounceable Turkish channel, this action-packed film follows a group of professional hunters and their dogs after wild boar in thick brush with semi-automatic shotguns. That's it for this week. We've put all these films into a playlist for you. Click on the I symbol top right or check this film's description. If you have a YouTube film you'd like us to pop into the weekly top 8, email Charlie the link, charlie@fieldsportschannel.tv.
Well, that's it for this week. If you haven't done so, please whiz over to our website, fieldsportschannel.tv. You can click like us there on Facebook and on Instagram. You can follow us on Twitter, subscribe to us on YouTube. Best of all, pop your email address into our register page and we'll contact you about this show, Fieldsports Britain. It's at 7 PM UK time every Wednesday. And this has been Fieldsports Britain. Good hunting, good shooting, good fishing, and goodbye.